Hello, little ones. I hope all of you are doing great today. Today, we're doing another BJC past paper review. Remember, before you start any of your BJC exams, you should always write your school number on the examination paper, your candidate number, that is the number given to you, and your initials, also your surname. Today, we're going to review a general science paper, and this general science paper is a paper 1, and this is from the year 2021. Again, as a means of reminder, before you start the examinations, you should always read through the entire instructions. And if you have any question, any queries at all, please clarify those with your examiner. All right, let's quickly dive into question number 1. And for question number 1, it reads that which of the following are the most commonly known myriapods? And just to point out right here, we have in A, we have butterflies, we have centipedes and millipedes, we have crabs, and we have crayfish here, and we have spiders. Now, all of these organisms belong to one big phylum, which is called the arthropods. So they are all arthropods. I must quickly write that down for you. So they're arthropods. All of them belong to arthropods. However, now the butterflies, they belong to the insect class. So these are the classes of arthropods. And so the B belongs to the myriapods. And so that will actually be your answer, myriapods. And then crabs, crayfish, lobster, they belong to the group called the crustaceans. All right, so these are the crustaceans. All right. All right, and then spiders, they belong to a special group they're called arachnids. So these are our arachnids. All right, so they those 4 groups, they are the classes of arthropods. And so again, our answer here will have to be A because A is the myriapods. All right, for question number 2, is which group of plants reproduce by spores? And so let me just quickly point out something here again, because algae are not plants, but they are plant-like, which means they behave just like plants. They photosynthesize just like plant, and they also take in carbon dioxide just like plants. However, they're not plants, they actually are called protists. Okay, so they are protists. So here we're looking for a group that is a plant. Okay, so those are protists. Now, angiosperms, they are what they call the flowering plant. Okay, those are flowering plants. So let's say call this flowering plant right here. All right, so the angiosperms, they are flowering plant. Right, let me get this thing right here. Right, good. So we have flowering plants here for the angiosperm. All right, so flowering plants. And then ferns now. Ferns are the one that produce spores, and they are like they are plants. They are a special type of plants, and so they are the one that produce spores. So C will be our answer. Okay, C will definitely be our answer. All right, so let's quickly highlight that. And then gymnosperms, they are plants that produce cones. They are cones. They bear cones, such as the pine tree. All right. Let's go to the next question. The next question read the diagrams show 2 flowers from the same plant. And the question asks which pair of arrows show pollination taking place. And so let's go through and see which of them will be correct for pollination. All right, and so if you look at R is moving from the anther to the stigma. And just to make a note, what is pollination? Pollination is a transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. And the anther is a part of the male part of a flower, and the stigma is a part of the female part of a flower. So R will be correct because it is moving from the anther to the stigma. Let's look at option, the next arrow, which is Q. Let's look at Q. And Q is coming from the stigma all the way over to the anther, which is opposite. So the Q is actually wrong because that's the opposite direction it's actually going. Look at P carefully. P is moving from the anther to another anther. That will never work, so that is impossible. So that's going to get an incorrect transfer as well. And look at S. So there are 4 lines. Look at S. S is the anther to the stigma. So S is also correct. So since R is from one flower to another flower, we can say it is a cross-pollination. And S is within the same flower, so we can say this is a self-pollination. So R is a cross-pollination, S is a self-pollination. All right, let's look at the option now. So option must be R and S, or S and R, whichever the combination, and D is our answer right here. Let's go to question number 4. And the question number 4 is which part of the flower becomes the seed after fertilization? And so the ovule forms seed. The ovary forms fruit. Okay, so ovary forms fruit. Just to make a note of that. So ovary forms fruit. Ovule forms seed. All right, and then petals now. Though petals is just the colored part of the flower that to attract insect if it's an insect pollinating flower. And then we have the sepal. The sepal protects the flower when it is very young or in its young stage. All right, for question number 5, it says which condition is not necessary for germination to take place? And germination is when a young seed or a seedling grows from a seed. Now, the thing that is not needed is actually sunlight. Sunlight is not needed for germination at all. It's needed for photosynthesis. And when the seed is germinating, it is not making any food for itself. So therefore, there is no need for photosynthesis. So therefore, there is no need for sunlight. For question number 6, it said the diagram represents particles in the 3 states of matter. And so the 3 states of matter you should know is solid, liquid, and gas. And of course, actually, if you look at them carefully, this is first one is solid. I could just make a quick mention of that. The first diagram is actually solid. The second diagram is actually liquid. And the last one is gas. And we know that because based on how the particles are close or far apart. Gases, the particles are very far from each other, while solid, the particles are really, really close together. And liquid, they're just close enough to run over each other. All right, but the question asks what happens to the spacing between the particles as energy of the particles increase. Now, just want to make a notation right here that energy is added going towards the right and energy is removed going towards the left. But based on the question, it said when energy of the particles increase, which means moving from left to right. So as they move this way, what happened to the spacing of the particles? All right, that's what is being asked. All right, and of course, as particles gain energy, they move faster and further away from each other. All right, so you know because of the gain of heat or gain of energy, the particles move further. So yes, as energy is added, then the spacing, of course, must what? Increase. They have a wider space between the particles as demonstrated in the diagram. All right, let's go to question number 7. For question number 7, let me scroll down to that real quick. For question number 7, it said a chemical formula for table salted NaCl. All right, and of course, this is known as sodium chloride. It said what are the names of the elements Na and Cl? Again, the entire thing is sodium chloride. And Na is for sodium and Cl is for chlorine. And so looking for sodium for Na and chlorine for Cl. And so C will be the answer. Question number 8. For question number 8, it said when a crystal of potassium permanganate is placed in a beaker of water, its purple color spread throughout the water. What is the name of this process? So the spread out of particles from an area where there's a lot of particles, we call it a high concentration, to an area where there's less of that particle, we call it lower concentration, it is called diffusion. So right here, diffusion will definitely be your answer. The potassium permanganate will diffuse throughout the water. All right, let's look at question number 9. And the question number 9 is which diagram represents the most dilute solution. And before you could answer this, I know that most of you will remember exactly what a solution is. And a solution is a combination of a solute and a solvent. So once you have a solute and a solvent together, solute and solvent gives solution. All right. Now, solvent are what is dissolving the solute. Solute is what dissolving the solvent in the solvent. And so water, for example, is a solvent. Salt or sugar is a solute. And so if you look at the diagrams carefully, you see some small round circles. And the round circles, they represent the solute, and the other darker portion represent the solvent, for example, water. And it's asking you for the most dilute one, which means dilute solutions actually mean less solute, which means a little bit of solute within the solution. So here looking for the one at the least amount of solute, and that is option C. Right. More solute means that it is concentrated. So the opposite of dilute is concentrated, all right? So for example, D will be the most concentrated solution. C is the most dilute, okay? I hope we get the picture there. For question number 10, and this is quarter way through the paper now, is that hydrochloric acid can be found in starch. It helps to break down nutrients and kill harmful bacteria. What is the chemical formula for hydrochloric acid? Hydrochloric acid is HCl. And so here, HCl is option B for hydrochloric acid. All right. Next, all right, before I even go, the first one is actually carbonic acid. So A is carbonic acid. C is what they call nitric acid. And D is ammonia. All right. So HCl is for hydrochloric acid. Question number 11 is a tomato sauce has a pH of 4. What kind of substance is tomato sauce? All right, so first we'll start with any number below 7 on the pH scale, they are acids. Number 7 is neutral. Above 7, we call them base or alkaline. So we know there are only two possible answers here. Number 4 has to be an acid, so either A or C. But let us determine which, if it's a strong or weak acid. That's the next important thing, whether it's weak or whether it's strong. The first thing, if you think about it carefully, strong acid is really from 0 to above 3. Okay, so anything above 3 is a little bit weaker. So 3 to 6, they are weak. 0 to 3, they are strong. And so the tomato sauce will be a weak acid. And it must be weak acid too, because of course it will damage your internal structures or organs. So it has to be a weak acid in that natural sense. All right, for question number 12, it said Johnny was heating a test tube in the lab during an experiment. What is the correct safety measure that should be followed? And we're looking at the way that he's doing this correctly. And if you look at it carefully, you may wonder, oh, what's the difference between these diagrams? So let's quickly point them out. All right, I'm going to point these out here. Let's put this in let me just do some red markings here. What I notice here, Johnny is holding the test tube holder and the test tube too close to the flame. So his hands is way too close to the flame. That's one. So where he has the test tube holder is incorrect. So this one is incorrect because of the position of the test tube holder. The test tube holder should be all the way up to 3/4 or to the top of the test tube. Too low to the flame, you can create problems for yourself. The test tube is less stable as well, and it could fall out of the test tube holder. Plus, you can burn your hand off. For part B, or option B, Johnny is holding the thing, all right, as we pointed out, at the top or almost to the top. So that part is correct. And the flame, and is in the flame, which is awesome. All right, let's hold that a little bit and see what's going on here. For C, Johnny is doing two things wrong. One, again, is holding the test tube holder too far down towards the flame, and is looking into the test tube while he's applying heat. Sometimes you have chemical reaction takes place, and the chemical could spill in the eyes, or by shaking the test tube, chemicals pop in the eye. And some chemicals, as I mentioned, once heat is applied to them, they create a violent reaction, and boom, something happens, explosion, and you die. So, or you lose your eyes. And so this is incorrect for two reasons. The holding of test tube too close to the flame and is looking into test tube. Like what Johnny was doing in B, hold the test tube away from himself, that is perfect. Look at D. D is holding the test tube up to the top, which is awesome, but let's see if there's any variation here. Yes, at the bottom of the thing, notice he pushed the test tube almost onto the top of the Bunsen burner. And that's why the flame is spread out like that. You should put the test tube in the flame as in B, in and out slowly, and not the whole test tube down into the mouth of the Bunsen burner. No. All right, so B is the correct option right there. Question number 13, it said wind, geothermal, and solar energy are kinds of energy. Which word best describe these energy resources? And yes, they are cheap for sure. They are cheap. So yeah, they are definitely cheap because they are always available. They are chemicals. No, not all of them are chemical. They are potential. Not all potential. Potential deal with height or position. And so, yes, they're all renewable energy. We call them renewable energy. We don't call them cheap energy. They are relatively cheap, but yeah, we don't call them cheap, right? Matter of fact, to install a windmill may be quite expensive too. So think about that one. All right. So chemicals can also be chemicals are not working for all of them. Well, a matter of fact, none of them are actually chemical, to be honest with you. All right. So let's go to number 14. All right. Chemicals would be like oils and so on. But question number 14 is that when a person is skipping, where do they have the most potential energy? And what is potential energy? That's what you need to think about. Potential energy is based upon height. The higher you go, the higher the potential energy. All right? It is opposite to kinetic energy, which is for movement. So height deals with potential. And so the highest point that she can reach, that's when she's going to have the most potential energy. Her highest point in the air will be the highest amount of potential energy. And just remember that potential energy is calculated by mgh. So the defined potential energy is mgh. And what m is the mass, g is the value of gravity or gravitational force, and h is the height. So notice here, height affects the potential energy. Okay. So here now we say that the bottom of when she bend her knees, that no, that can't be because she's going to be very low. At the bottom, when she hit the ground, no, that's going to be a very low potential energy as well. It's in the middle of their jump, no, and of course D at the top, right before she actually come down again. So D is the correct answer. That is her maximum height, or maximum height. So a simple way to say it, highest potential energy is the maximum height. Now, number 15 is a calculated distance traveled by a mouse running at 2 meters per second, 2 meters per second for 20 seconds. So I want to find how far will this mouse go. Well, not if you take something and knock him down, he can't go anywhere. But let's do the calculation here based on this question. Now, first thing to remember, a very basic formula that you need to know is that speed, so V, which is speed, is equal to distance over time, okay? Speed is equal to distance over time. But they ask us to find distance here. And so to find distance based on this equal to V times T. So velocity times T will give you your distance traveled. So what we're going to do here now is to find what is V. So velocity here is 2 meters per second. And then our time is 20 seconds. So it's going to be 2 times 20. And everybody should know the answer by now. When you say 2 times 20, we should get what? 80 as our answer. All right, so please ignore that line. All right, so let's put our 80 here. 80 meters. All right, so it's 80 m. All right. So, oh, my mistake. This is supposed to be 40. I said 80. No, I'm making a mistake. It's 20. It's 2 times 20. So this is 40. All right, that's my mistake right there. This is 2 times 20. That is 40. All right, so that's 40 meters per second. So 40 meters is our answer right there. That is our distance travel. Okay, 20 times 2, 40. All right, so you see, please make sure you read over sometimes because you can make mistakes as well. All right, so please, when you finish calculating or finish your exam, if you have some time, please read over to make sure you have everything correct. Number 16. Well, number 16 is why are the paper clips attracted to the nail? So why the paper clips are able to attach themselves to this nail? And notice you have a battery here, and you have a wire wrapped around a nail, and this is what they call a simple electromagnet. It's a simple electromagnet. And so once you attach it to the battery, the nail will become magnetized and able to pick up the paper clip. So here, so the nail is a conductor. That's not the correct answer here. The nail is magnetized. Yeah, B. Right off the bat there, B is the correct answer. The nail, it becomes magnetized. All right. let's go to question number 17. For question number 17, say, as compared to air, the speed of sound in liquid and solid is what? So if you compare the speed of sound in liquid and solid, then it must be a faster sound. And the reason why it's faster, remember now, sound is vibration, right? And so if the particles are closer, as in solid, then the vibration is faster and easier. As the particles spread out into liquid, then the speed of sound travels slower. And then when you go into air, it even travels a little bit slower. So again, the more compact or closer the particles are, the greater the transfer of vibration from one particle to the other. And hence, solid and liquid will have a faster speed of sound compared to air. All right, question number 18. It's a diagram shows what happens when water is heated. Identify the process occurring at X. Then water is heated, what is occurring at X? All right, unfortunately, you will not going to be able to see these diagrams, but I'm going to draw them for you. There's a red arrow here going like that, and there's a next red one coming down like that, and also this one going up like that as well, and this one is going like that as well. And then between the arrows on either side, you have some small bubbles or circles. And so what the arrows indicate is that water going up and water coming down. Let me just quickly say something, is that when the water that is going up, those particles are the warmer water molecules, and the water coming down are the cooler water molecules. So as soon as these particles gain heat energy from the stove or the gasoline that is burning, then they move further apart and faster, and so they go to the top, and the cooler one, they will fall because of less energy. So once the water molecules gain energy, they move faster and move towards the top. And the process that causes this continuous up and down thing is called convection. So it's called convection or convectional current. All right, so just to mention that. All right, so it's convection. All right, so number 19, it said, which of the following is an insulator? And an insulator of heat, to be specific, because insulator is anything that prevents this thing from passing through it. In this case, is heat. So an insulator of heat, it will prevent heat from passing through it. And so a coin is made of metal, so definitely that is a conductor. Iron here, depends on which part they're talking about. But iron, generally, the flat part, which is the metallic part, can conduct heat, but the plastic part, which is the handle, that part can't conduct heat at all. That's why I made of plastic, so you can iron without getting burned. And a metal spoon, if you put a metal spoon in something hot, eventually you're going to feel it at the end. So that's not the answer as well. It's a pot holder. This will be the best one right here. It's actually made to be an insulator, so you can hold a pot without you getting burned. All right, question number 20, halfway through. It said a transverse wave is shown in the diagram. Which term represents the distance between two crests that are next to each other? And so just make a quick note right here. The highest point, those are what they call the crest, okay? So the high things like hills, those are called the crest. The lower ones, they are called trough, okay? So those are trough. So we have crest and we have trough. Now the distance between two crests, as mentioned here, that are side by side. So from here to here, that's what they're actually saying. This is what they call a wavelength. It's symbolized like that lambda. There's a wavelength, okay? It is a wavelength. So answer here has to be D. Amplitude, just to make a note right here, amplitude is the height from here to here. Let's call that A. So it's the highest point of a crest, that is amplitude, or the lowest point of a trough. So here's also an amplitude as well. Let's call that A. All right, let's go to question number 21. And question number 21 is that during a storm, thunder and lightning start at the same time. That's important. They start at the same time. However, we will see the lightning before we actually hear the thunder. Why does this take place? And remember now, they produce at the same place. There are two types of energy. The lightning is light energy. The thunder is sound energy. And light travels faster than what? Sound. So 21 right off the bat here has to be A. Must be A. Because again, light travels faster than sound, even though they're producing from the same source. All right, next question here. So what does the symbol in the diagram show? And the diagram that is here, what we have is a positive terminal right here from a battery or a cell. So this is one cell here, a negative, this is a positive, and then we have a negative. So this is all cells. This is all cells right here. But the whole thing together, when you put cells together, we have what they call a battery, okay? Cells joined together form battery. So here now we say that two cells, all of them, yes, two cells in parallel now, because parallel mean that they are more than one path, but two cells in series, yes, that means they connect alternatingly, one after the next. All right, so that's two cells in series. Next question here. It said, what type of circuits are shown in the diagram P and Q? And so in diagram 1, let me just do my highlight here. Current can flow through this side all the way through the next bulb and go all the way back to the battery. So that's one path for current to flow. However, for this one, current could flow this way, all right, from the battery into the bulb and back around like that, or it could go another way. So let me talk about another way. Let's put this in a different color. As it can go another way, absolutely, let's put this in red. So it can come from the battery here, coming from the battery, all the way down, because there's a connection there, and come all the way down to that. Or it could come from, yeah, and also connect to this side, it come here, where the wire connected there, because the wires are connected there, and then the continuous way down here. So Q is a parallel circuit, and P is a series circuit. So P is series, Q is parallel. All right, so let's look out for what answer is that one. And so here is C. I'll just say that P is series, Q is a parallel circuit. All right, question number 24. And question number 24 reads, which of the following is a habitat for juvenile snappers? And this is snappers specifically. And juvenile snappers, you don't find them in the beach for sure. All right, you may find them in the mangroves, under the roots of mangroves. So that will be a good answer right there. Let's talk about the beach. River. Do we find juvenile snappers in river? No, because river is a freshwater, and snapper are saltwater fish, right? In the stream, same thing as the river. They are freshwater, and so we don't find snappers, saltwater fish, in freshwater at all. So the mangrove is best. A matter of fact, the mangroves are called brackish water. Is where fresh water and salt water, the mixture of fresh and salt water. All right, but you find them in the roots of the mangroves, and again the water is salty or partially salty. All right, not as salty as the sea, of course, right? All right, and so that is why that ecosystem is also rich, because the water is not too salty and it's not too fresh as well. So most organisms can actually live there and chill out together, right? So like a big meeting place for those little small fish. We call them juvenile fish and juvenile organism of the ocean. Question number 25. But question number 25 is said, which organism is protected by a closed season in the Bahamas? And so we have the lionfish. The lionfish is what they call an invasive species. That's not protected. As a matter of fact, the government would love for you to kill them out. All right. So if you eat lionfish more frequently, it will be better for the ocean, because matter of fact, they're promoting people to eat the lionfish. Now, lionfish says invasive, so I'm gonna spell it. I'll put the word here for you. Invasive. There's an invasive species. All right, says invasive species. That's what lionfish is. The Nassau grouper is protected by a closed season. So there's a closed season for the Nassau grouper. Oh, I have this A. All right, let me delete that because that's correct. B, Nassau grouper is the correct answer. All right, and so Nassau grouper is protected by a closed season. As a matter of fact, let me tell you what the closed season is for Nassau grouper. The closed season for the Nassau grouper, it starts at December 1st. So December 1st. So wherever December 1st falls, that's where it starts, and it ends at February 28th. Okay? So February 28th. So that's the closed season there. And the purpose for the closed season is to allow them to reproduce, and so they don't become overfished and eventually become threatened and then become extinct. All right, so it's to preserve and conserve the population of the of the Nassau grouper. Okay. All right. Conch doesn't have a closed season, open season. All right. The barracuda can actually fish that whenever you want. All right. So 26 is which of the following are the main pollutants found in the Bahamian waters? And algae is, let's go option A. Algae is not a pollutant. It is an organism that is there, but algae, of course, could cause a negative effect by eutrophication when it grow too much because of sewage and waste in the water. It can form a lot of algae, which will be bad for other organisms within side of the ocean. But then again, the algae themselves is not the pollutant, right? Seaweed also is an organism, so A is out. It's a coral and lionfish. Those two things are out. And you're looking for here pollutants. Pollutants are what cause pollution. So anything that disturb the environment is a pollutant. So we're looking for things like that. So garbage and sewage, definitely so. The oxygen is a good stuff. It's good stuff. We need that to breathe. So it's not a pollutant at all. All right, and bacteria is a living organism, right? We may call them pathogen, but they're not pollutants. All right, question number 27, and we are really progressing towards the end. And it said pollution increases global warming with which causes, so let's go back over this again. I think I'm going too fast. The pollution increases global warming, which causes the temperature of the ocean to increase. High temperatures can cause coral to expel zooxanthellae, and zooxanthellae is what they call algae that live within inside of the coral polyps. All right, and so once they expel the zooxanthellae, they become the color change, and the color change to become white. As a matter of fact, they lose their color, and so they appear white because they're colorless now, and so we call that condition bleaching. All right, and so it's a native process caused by this color in coral, and this is called coral bleaching. They become white, so it's like we say bleaching because when they bleach stuff, they tend to become white. All right, because they lose their, as I mentioned, their zooxanthellae and such, we call it bleaching. All right, so which is an example of an artificial fertilizer? And right off the bat, you should see answer here because here we have compost, like our trees, or our leaves, our peels, like our banana peels and whatever vegetables left over, you can use that to make compost. Cow manure is a natural thing. Horse manure is a natural thing, but NPK, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, those are artificial fertilizers, all right, and they are used on farms to make plants really grow faster and produce much more. But we're not saying that is the best thing or the most healthy thing, but yeah, those are what they call artificial fertilizers. All right, for question number 29 now, it said, why do farmers use fertilizers? For question number 29, why do farmers use fertilizers? It's simple to add nutrients to the soil. That's the basic line. Bottom line is to add nutrients so plants will grow better and faster and produce much more, right? All right, so question number 30. It said, John uses the apparatus shown to test for a certain gas in the laboratory. Which gas relits a glowing splint? And when I say relits a glowing splint, I mean that splint that is that red tip on, that there's no flame, but it's really, really red and ready to catch fire anytime. And so the gas that is responsible for it is actually called oxygen. So you notice here, the second diagram, you have a bigger flame, that means it's relit. So the gas at the bottom here coming out of the flask, it is oxygen. And that is why the same way if you're trying to catch fire, I'm not sure if you ever seen this before when people catching fire, especially those charcoal or wood fire. All right, they normally blow in it or use a fan to blow across it, and the fire will start up really fast. All right, because oxygen is needed for combustion or to ignite the flame. For 31, it's a correctly identify the instrument in the diagram and give its use. It's not a clock. It looks like a clock. It's not a clock. All right, it's not a clock at all. It's not a compass either. A compass would have east, west, north on it. All right, and it's not an anemometer. An anemometer is something that is used to measure the wind, of course, but is not this anemometer at all. It's a barometer that used to measure air pressure, right? It's a barometer. There are different designs of them, but these are the common ones. You look at the numbers and also the markers, you realize it's not a compass and so on, right? All right, so you need to know the barometer, the anemometer, compass, you need to know those, and the rain gauge as well. All right, but this is right off the bat a barometer. 32. So why is the ozone layer important? So the ozone layer is there to protect the earth from extreme heat, right? That's a purpose for it. So looking at it now, how does it work is really because it's a pocket of gases, and the gas will absorb the ultraviolet rays from the sun. Because if the ozone layer was not absorbing the sun, the rays from the sun, the earth would be way, 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 way too hot. And maybe we would not have life here. All right. So it really helped to absorb the absorb the ultraviolet rays from the sun. All right, and to prevent global warming is to slow global warming is not the purpose for that. Is actually to protect the sun. Is when we damage it now, then we have a problem with that, and we cause global warming. All right, so global warming is not the thing that actually start. Is actually we start global warming. So global warming comes after the whole purpose of creating ozone layer by the creator. Now 33 is an image process occurring at 4 in the diagram. And if you look at 4 carefully, you notice what you have here is rainfall. And so rainfall is an example of precipitation. And it could also be not just rain alone. Precipitation is not only rain alone, but it can also be snow as well. It could be hail and it could be sleet. Number 3 is evaporation. And the number 2s now, they are condensation, all right? Number 1 is just the sun producing heat that is needed for the condensed water to go back into liquid water, right? So the sun, when the sun comes out, the water will evaporate, and then once the water evaporates, it will condense, and then once it condenses enough, then it will come back in the form of rain. So the purpose of number 1 is really for evaporation of water, all right? And of course, number 5 is the source of water. So for example, the ocean, a lake, a river, or whatever else that contain water. This is a source of water on the earth, and then the sun will evaporate the water from the source of water from the earth. Number 3 is when it is evaporating. Number 2s, those are condensation processes, and that is when the gas turns into a liquid form. All right. Now let's continue here now. 34. For question number 34, the diagram shows 2 methods of purifying water. So here we have method X, and everybody know that this is now a filtration process because this is a filter funnel. And then method Y, we have what here is a simple distillation, when you see it carefully. And so the question asks which 2 methods are shown in the diagram. And so liquid, our first diagram, which is diagram, well, you don't, okay, yeah, diagram X and Y. I was looking for A and B. So yeah, so method X is a filtration process, and method Y is a distillation. In fact, simple distillation. So right here, B is the winner for this, filtration and distillation. All right, let's jump into the next question here. We're almost to the end. All right, so here's which arrow in the table, which row in the table correctly describes the function of vitamins, minerals, and water in the diet. All right, so first thing, it said vitamins boost immune system. So let's see if any of these correct. Yes, vitamins will help boost our immune system for sure, so that would be a correct one. Vitamins used to make hormones, no, so we're going to make that one incorrect there. To maintain healthy bones, definitely will help to do that. And C is to provide, D is to provide energy, which is not true at all because sugar is needed to provide to make energy. All right, so that will be wrong for that column. Let's go for minerals. Minerals provide energy. Absolutely not. They're not for energy necessarily. All right, is it to maintain bones? Yeah. Minerals can maintain our bones. Minerals can also maintain our teeth, especially mineral calcium, right? To keep our body working, absolutely, because we need minerals to have certain functions in our body. Our blood pressure and all of those things are dependent upon minerals and all of that. So yeah, we need them for all those 3 things, except for energy. All right, so water now. For water, it's a water repairs tissue. No, that's protein does that. Proteins are responsible to repair our cells in our body. Hydrate the body, yes. I'll give it a tick right there. Hydrate the body, yes. Allows digestive system to function properly, absolutely. So the one that has all correct here will be option C, yeah? Option C has all the things correct. Now, question number 36, another chart again. And for question number 36, it said which row in the table correctly identifies the end products of carbohydrates, fats, and protein. All right, so when I say you digest carbohydrates, fats, and protein, you break them down to the smallest thing. Carbohydrates will provide us with our sugar, particularly glucose. So here off the bat, let's go down the line again for carbohydrates. Fatty acids and glycerols, they come from fat, so that is wrong. All right? That is definitely wrong for carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are fiber. Yes, fiber is cellulose, and cellulose is a complex sugar, which is a carbohydrate as well, is a polysaccharide. So fiber is a polysaccharide. Glucose, yes, a carbohydrate. Sucrose is also a carbohydrate because the sugar, these are all sugars. All right, fiber is a complex one. All right, and then let's go to fats. Fats, this. Oh, a matter of fact, I was doing something wrong. I go back to this question. We're looking for the end product. The end products. I'm gonna make some correction here. I get over myself just now. The end product is actually glucose alone. Okay. The other two, they are types of carbohydrate. Luckily, I see that. All right, these are types of carbohydrates, but the end product of carbohydrates digestion is glucose, right? But I also want to know that fiber is a carbohydrate. Fiber is cellulose, and cellulose is a polysaccharide. Sucrose is a disaccharide, so it's still a carbohydrate, right? But the end product is actually glucose. Glucose is used in our body to form energy. All right, let's go for fat. The simplest part of fat. No, the simplest amino acid is for protein. Lipase is an enzyme that breaks down fat. So it is not the smallest part of fat. It only breaks down fat. It is a difference. Fatty acid and glycerol. Fatty acids and glycerol, they are from fats for sure. So this one is correct. So again, I'm going to put an X through these. What these are are not correct. All right, I put a tick there. They're not correct at all. All right, and so starch is not correct as well. So fatty acid and glycerol is the only correct one. And by virtue of this so far, you must know that the answer is C. For proteins, calcium, not the answer, not the smallest part. Glucose is not the smallest part of protein, it's the smallest part of carbohydrates. Amino acid is the smallest part of proteins, definitely. Lipase, again, is an enzyme. So the only option here that makes sense is actually option C. All right, let me quickly finish this paper, the next 4 questions. All right, for question number 37. All right, I guess I'm getting a little bit tired too. You see, I actually almost gave the wrong answer for that one. All right, for question number 37. It's a diagram shows 2 organs in the human body. Give the names of organs X and Y and their function as well. So X is the liver. So this is the liver. So that's the liver, and Y is the pancreas. Okay. So Y is the pancreas. X is the liver. And so here now, let's see which row need to go. All right. So X is the liver. Yes, so A looks good so far. That is liver, it produces enzymes. No, the liver don't produce any enzyme though. That's the bad part here. It doesn't produce any enzyme at all. The pancreas is actually Y, but it's not producing gastric juice. Gastric juice is produced from, within the stomach. Now for option B, it said the liver produces bile. That is a true statement there because bile is produced by the liver. And the pancreas produces insulin, which is actually a true statement. So B is absolutely correct. But let's just make sure that the 2 options are actually incorrect. And for C, so the pancreas produces enzyme. Okay, yeah. That is true. The pancreas does produce enzymes, but is not for organ X, right? It's actually for organ Y. All right, so know that this is incorrect for saying that statement. For D, it said it produces bile, which is true. But the stomach here, organ Q is not the stomach. Y is not the stomach, a matter of fact. And the stomach does produce gastric juice, but it's not the answer for that there. 38, it said during puberty, which sign is not common to males and females? Males and females. It's a body and pubic hair grows. That for both persons. So yes, I would say yes. Grow taller, yes. Usually males and females grow taller. Oily hair and skin, yes. And that is why you see pimples sometimes, because when you reach puberty, your face becomes a little bit oily and so on. And so that the oil and the dirt will clog in the pores of the skin, and you may get blackheads or pimples whenever you are at the stage of puberty. All right, for shoulders broaden, that's only for males alone. That's only applicable to males. All right, so we give males that characteristic alone. 39, it says, what is technology? Technology is the process of doing things or the way of doing things. And so let's go through the list real quick, and we're going to finish just after this. Is there anything that completes a task without human help? No, that's not necessarily true. Is there anything that has electrical circuits or electronics? That's not true. The application of science to solve problems, that is technology. The way of doing things. The way of doing things. And of course, the way of doing things is science. You notice that science is everything. Yep, science is everything. All right, so which of the following is the function of the firewall? And so if you have computer, you know, if you say you have a firewall, it's really to help you with your security, especially your doing online stuff. All right, so yeah, this is the end of this review. Again, good luck on the examination. Talk to you soon. All right, be safe.